They always said I was invisible. The quiet one, the forgettable one. But invisibility has its advantages. No one sees you coming until it's too late. I knew it was over the moment Chris walked into the boardroom. His tie was crooked, his briefcase was empty, and his grin reeked of unearned confidence. But it wasn't Chris's faults that burned in my chest. It was that, once again, I was the invisible man in the room. Chris was a walking disaster dressed in an expensive suit. His spreadsheets were riddled with mistakes, his pitches lacked depth, and he had a habit of nodding in meetings like he understood when it was clear he didn't. But none of that mattered, because Chris had mastered the one skill that I lacked: making himself heard. With every hollow joke and exaggerated anecdote, he warmed his way into everyone's good graces, including Mr. Donovan's. Speaking of Donovan, he wasn't just the CEO, he was the company's self-proclaimed king. A man who relished control, Donovan had built his reputation on charm, good looks, and a carefully curated image of success. But behind his polished exterior was a man who thrived on favoritism and manipulation. Rumors swirled around the office like cigarette smoke. Donovan's affair with his secretary, his shady offshore investments, the time he allegedly fired an employee for outshining him. I didn't care for gossip, but even I knew that crossing Donovan could cost you more than your job. That morning, I sat at my desk, barely able to focus as the announcement approached. The promotion would change everything. It would finally be my chance to prove myself. My heart raced as Donovan entered the room, flanked by his sycophants. He cleared his throat, a smug smile playing on his lips. The new team lead is Chris. Applause erupted. I felt a pit open in my stomach. I looked at Chris, whose stunned expression gave way to a smirk. Donovan's eyes skimmed past me, as though I didn't exist. That night, I vented to Ryan, recounting every injustice I'd endured at work. Ryan's expression darkened as I spoke. "Let me guess," he interrupted. "Chris got it because he's Donovan's golden boy, right? Let me tell you something, Mike. The world doesn't reward people like you. You have to take what's yours." I shook my head. "That's not who I am, Ryan." His grin widened. "Then let me be you." Ryan and I were as alike as night and day, a truth that became glaringly obvious the older we got. Where Ryan's laughter echoed freely in the open fields, I found solace in quiet afternoons under the shade of an old acacia tree, sketching the endless savannah in my notebook. He was the golden light everyone was drawn to, the natural leader in school who could charm his way out of trouble. I, on the other hand, was the shadow, steady, unnoticed, content with my thoughts and the beauty of the world around me. It wasn't that I didn't admire Ryan. I did. He had a way of turning the mundane into magic, convincing our neighbors to lend us their rusty bikes, leading us on adventures through winding rivers, and turning every dull moment into an escapade. But admiration often walked hand in hand with jealousy. How could I not envy the effortless way he drew people in, the attention he commanded in every room? Meanwhile, my quiet nature left me overlooked and underestimated. Through high school, Ryan reveled in sports and the thrill of the crowd, while I buried myself in books, excelling academically. Teachers praised my intellect, but Ryan's charisma earned him connections that I couldn't dream of having. And still, we were inseparable. Despite our differences, Ryan always stood up for me. Anytime someone teased me for being too quiet or boring, Ryan's fiery temper would flare. "Mike's smarter than all of you combined," he'd say, punching the air for emphasis. I didn't have the courage to tell him I hated being defended. It made me feel weak. As we grew older, those differences became our defining traits. Ryan was loud and daring, never one to follow rules, while I thrived in structure and stability. But even as our paths diverged, we maintained a strange, unspoken bond. Ryan knew I depended on him for the kind of strength I lacked, and I knew he needed me to ground him when his wild nature led him astray. What followed was a whirlwind of preparation. Ryan studied my life like it was a heist, memorized my co-workers' names, my projects, even how I took my coffee. "They ignore you because you let them," he said. "But I won't. Watch and learn, Mike. This is how you own a room." Ryan entered my office life like a storm. He posed as me with terrifying ease, his charisma filling the void I'd left. Ryan didn't just replace me, he upgraded me. He laughed at Chris's jokes just a beat too late, accidentally forwarded his typos to the whole team. And when Chris tried to steal credit for the Thompson project, Ryan confronted him in front of the team. Funny, I don't recall seeing your name on any of these drafts, Chris. Leaving Chris stammering and humiliated. Donovan's smile faltered. For the first time, he saw Chris. Really saw him. And what he saw was weak. Meanwhile, Ryan began digging into Donovan's secrets. He befriended the IT guy, shared drinks with the janitor, and charmed Donovan's secretary into spilling details about her boss's indiscretions. The puzzle pieces came together. Donovan was hiding financial improprieties that could ruin the company if exposed. The company's annual gala was Donovan's pride and joy, a lavish event designed to showcase his leadership. As Ryan, still in my guise, took the stage to deliver the keynote speech, he painted a vivid picture of a bright future for the company. Then, his tone shifted. Before we celebrate, I think it's only fair we acknowledge the obstacles we've overcome, he said, his voice calm but charged. Like favoritism, unethical practices, and the silencing of those who dare to speak the truth. Gasps rippled through the room. Ryan revealed Donovan's offshore accounts and evidence of embezzlement, collected from anonymous sources. The guests stared at Donovan, whose face had turned ashen. Justice doesn't always come quietly, Ryan concluded, stepping off the stage and leaving the room in uproar. By morning, the board voted him out. By noon, Chris resigned. And Ryan? He handed me a file. Donovan's finished. But you already knew that. Then he smiled. The same smile he'd given me when we were kids. Oh, and I may have traded his secrets for a job at Kensington Corporation. As I reviewed the aftermath, I stumbled across something unexpected. Ryan had forged some of the anonymous evidence against Donovan. He hadn't just exposed the truth, he'd engineered it, ensuring Donovan's downfall went far beyond what I'd imagined. And what's more, Ryan had struck a deal with a rival company, selling them Donovan's secrets in exchange for a lucrative position for himself. I should have known. Ryan didn't do selfless. He had always been the golden light, and I had been his shadow. And now, he had ensured it would stay that way. The world only remembers the loudest voice in the room. And mine? Well, it never stood a chance.